This is the Purple Passion Project with host and clinical sexologist, Dr. Stacy Friedman. This is your go-to podcast for raw, real, and irresistibly juicy conversations about sex, intimacy, connection, and everything in between. Whether you're feeling a little stuck in your love life, curious about what turns you on, or just craving conversations that actually matter, you're in the right place. So now, please welcome the host of the Purple Passion Project, Dr. Stacy Friedman.
What do you get when you mix purple, passion, and permission to be your true self? This podcast. I am your host, Dr. Stacy, and this is the Purple Passion Project, coming to you live and unfiltered. It's the show where we talk sex, intimacy, connection, everything underneath the surface, because let's be honest, small talk is boring and you're ready for the good stuff. So relax, drop your guard, get ready for some truth, laughs, maybe a few gasps, and a whole lot of passion. And today I am joined by the amazing Dr. Stephanie. She's a nationally recognized sex and relationship expert. She's been featured on Playboy, People, Times. She's also a clinical sexologist, intimacy advisor, relationship coach, and the author of Beyond the Costume, which I can't wait to hear all about. This is where she explores how cosplay and role play can unlock healing and deeper intimacy. So that's going to be really interesting. She also has a PhD in human sexuality, a background in psychology, and has experience working in dungeons, which is another thing I can't wait to talk about. And she also just blends all of this expertise to help people break free from shame and discover the power of play in their sex life. So we're going to bring Dr. Stephanie on. There she is.
Hello, hello.
Things. I cannot wait to get into it. Sounds very juicy.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank your listeners for listening to me.
Absolutely. So I wanted to just get started on a little bit of your backstory, obviously, but I was curious because you're into and being an author in your books. If you could be one character role for the rest of your sex life, do you have a favorite? Like who would it be and why? Just curious.
Oh God, I think it would probably, there's so many I love, but it would probably be, a brothel owner and one of the best sex workers from the 1900s. There's something about that era that resonates with me. I feel on a soul level, I lived that before. So it brings me to life. And that's why I have a lot of like old photos of those women in my home, in my bedroom and things like that, because it just inspires me. I love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, the way you were just describing it, it gave me goosebumps because I just felt your passion in there. So that was really cool, which is why I can't wait to hear a little bit more about it. But so what kind of sparked your journey from, you said you grew up in the South, and a lot of times in that time, that area, we're steeped with guilt and shame growing up. So how did you go from that to being such an advocate and a sexologist from that journey?
Yes, I suffered a lot of shaming and abuse in regards to sexuality and religion. And so it completely cut me off. And then I developed a very unhealthy relationship with sex, like only using it to get love or be noticed, get attention. It wasn't until my late 20s that I realized there was more there for me. I was lacking something and I wanted to find it. At the same time, I became an artist, and through my art, I was evolving. And I didn't know what it was at the time, but I was becoming a cosplayer. And around that time, I dressed from like the 1940s and 1950s, and I liked to drive old cars. And I was really, that gave me a safe space to grow, evolve, and discover who I was. And I didn't even know at that time that's what I was doing. And so then later, as I continued on my journey, through self-hypnosis and becoming different characters, I opened up sexually. I freed myself. I was able to fully embrace and enjoy my sexuality. And it wasn't until my time when I was doing my bachelor's that I worked at a dungeon in Los Angeles for 2 years. It wasn't until that time that I realized during that time that, oh, there's other people out there like me.
Explain.
Because a lot of people came in for role playing and stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, just explain real quick what exactly a dungeon is for the people that are listening that may not know what a dungeon is.
Oh, sure. Well, it's BDSM, which includes bondage, any kind of play in that regards. There was a lot of um, role playing going on. You can go there and you can power play, role play, live out your fantasies like in a scene. I loved that. I love that. You know, I took on the role that they asked me to do. I was actually a switch, means that I played both ways. But then there were just true submissives there, and then there were true doms there. So it was very fascinating experience. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like
Excuse me.
living in so many different worlds, doing the dungeons thing. And a lot of people don't know about it. And it may sound, I don't know if it sounds scary or confusing or what people get out of it, but you had done that. You've also been able to have some outlets like Playboy and Time, and now you're guiding people with the cosplay. So
Mhm.
how did you connect it all to where this is who you are today?
Well, I knew when I was entering psychology, I had a great desire to help others because I knew what I had been through myself.
Right.
But through the process, I realized that my role on the planet was sexuality because I feel I was placed here for that particular role because a, it's a gift to be able to help others with their
Absolutely.
sexuality. And I feel our sexuality and our spirituality are connected and they're one. And when we're lacking in one or the other, we feel broken. And so I have discovered in private practice for the last 14 years that helping individuals or couples with their sexuality actually can help them heal in so many different areas, whether it's depression,
Outside of the bed.
anxiety. Yeah, exactly. So that's sort of where I'm at. And I wrote the cosplay book because I think there's so many individuals out there that not only can learn from it and
Right.
utilize it, because the book has a lot of questions and exercises in it for people, or to break the stigma and the shame surrounding it. So, and of course, in the book, I put resources and things for individuals. So,
Yeah, no, that's great because there is a lot of stigma and a lot of shame in these types of journeys. And so when people are trying to heal, how are you using role play and cosplay to become tools for healing versus people actually using them and feeling shame within? Because for a lot of people, it's fantasy,
mhm.
and they're not really realizing that it can be helpful to be expressive like that. So how do
Mhm.
you kind of help people or help them understand that it can be
I
healing?
like to look at it as it's behind the mask. And behind the mask, you can embody and embrace who you truly are in a safe way, but you also can escape. Now, what are we escaping? We're escaping the negative judgmental voices in our head.
Right.
We can take on, we can give ourselves permission and take on that persona. What I usually do is, I think there's a close tie to a disconnect with couples sexually and power. So one
Powerful.
of the first things I do, excuse me, is I create a role play scene where the power dynamics shift in both of them. And of course, I take sex off the table. And then we analyze it when they come back on, how they felt, what came up for them. And of course, about 95% of the time, they say, well, we broke the rule. We had sex. And I said, well, of course you did.
But at least the rule
Because
is
you
set.
entered, right, because I told you not to.
Right.
And because you entered the world of play.
Right.
You know, this nice thing about cosplay and role play too is it reminds us that play is a big part of sex and our sexuality. It
Yeah.
has this serious undertone or this undertone of performance.
Yeah. It's all
Or
focused on the end result and not about
yeah,
the whole middle juicy part. That's the stuff that gets you going.
exactly. And you know, I always tell my clients, intercourse and orgasm is a very small part of sexuality.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I actually just posted on one of my Facebook groups in the men's group. And when I had posted just the other day about the importance of having a night where you're exploring without the penetration, I didn't say you can't have orgasm. I just said you're
Right.
exploring, you're doing things. And there was one or two of the men there that were so like adamant about, well, we have to finish, you know, as a man, this is what we need. And I kind of disagreed with that. And so did a lot of the other people. But that's the thing, is that we are brought up in a society where it's so all about finishing, all
It's all
about,
about the goal,
right. And
the end
not about
result.
that build up, and not, you know, there's nothing wrong with holding on to it for a little while, you know, and there's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with finding other ways and exploring without the penetration.
right.
So I think that's very important in what you're doing, and helping people with learning about that play part.
Well, you know, if there are people that are very rigid in their thinking in
Right.
regarding sexuality, and it can also trigger them in many ways and make them angry.
Okay.
But if people are open and non-judgmental and willing to get out of their comfort zone, they can really expand.
Yeah.
Expand.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think stepping into other roles can be creative. It can get you out of that judgment zone and just going into things with curiosity. And I like to say this a lot, is that when we are in curiosity, we are not in judgment. We're open to just exploring and learning, and things like that. And, you know, a lot of people will associate the cosplay with like Comic-Con or a kink
Mhm.
event. What is the difference between all of those? Like, what
Mhm.
is it different?
Right. There's all kinds of people with all kinds of labels, furries, all this.
Right.
Can it all be connected? Sure. Can it all be different? Sure. One thing we know for sure, people really feel safe with labels. So it's okay to label yourself a certain way if that makes you feel comfortable, and it's okay not to label yourself.
Right.
So I'm more fluid with all of that. Um, Anytime a client labels himself, I always say, well, what does that mean to you?
Right. I guess that's the
Because, yeah,
answer. It's
right,
important what it means to you versus what it means to everybody else.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the people that maybe you've worked with, that you've kind of helped them explore this whole cosplay, what are some transformations that you've seen where they've maybe started with some type of either trauma or healing, and then they've embraced that role play, and now they have either healed or come out of it a different way? What are some transformations that you're able to see through
Mhm.
this?
One of them in particular was a female that had a lot of shame regarding masturbation.
That's
She
off.
was,
That's common.
yeah, very shut down, very shamed. I explored with her an era in which she liked, and she told me she liked to watch movies or read books about the Renaissance era.
Okay.
So what we did over time is I had her buy a costume and start dressing in that period at home alone in her apartment. And over time, she loved it, and she would relax and have a glass of wine and just pretend that she was in that era until eventually she was able to masturbate in the costume.
So it's almost like she was allowing herself to be somebody else, to be free in a way.
Mhm. Yes, but
But it was
was
really
she being
hard.
somebody else, or was she also being herself?
Right. Right. No, I believe that they're being their self or who they
Yeah.
want to be, but it's giving them, like you said, the word permission
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
explore.
Right. Right. Yeah. Another example is sadly, a girl. Sorry, my asthma's acting up today.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
So, um, let's see. A girl came to me who had suffered a lot of sexual abuse from her grandfather.
Mm.
She was completely shut down. She was probably in her early 20s. But I noticed right away when I looked at her, she reminded me of like an old movie star from like the 20s. I quickly changed the subject and asked her about that. And she goes, Other people have told me that too. She goes,
Huh.
I'm not really into that. But so, as part of her healing journey, her homework was to research those films and those stars. And as we continued our work, excuse me, she began more and more looking like them. And then one day she came in and she said, Now I know why. And I said, What? She had found an actress that had her exact same story in that time period.
Wow.
She said, that was me in a past life, and I was meant to come back and heal.
Interesting.
And it brought her a lot of healing, a lot of safety. Now, people would argue, is that true? Does it matter?
No, as long as it gave her the results she
And
needed.
it's her truth.
Right.
Nobody could say any different.
Right. Wow. Powerful. Very powerful. Well, I can't wait to hear more. We're going to just take a quick commercial break and then we'll be right back to hear some more.
If you enjoy these podcasts with Dr. Stacy, imagine the results you can get from a personal coaching session. As a clinical sexologist and certified sex coach with over 2 decades of experience, Dr. Stacy helps people just like you reignite passion, explore their desires, and break through blocks that may be holding you back, solo or with a partner. Whether you're struggling with communication, desire mismatch, performance anxiety, or simply want to feel more confident and connected in your sex life, Dr. Stacy is here to help. She offers a complimentary 15-minute consult so you can see if working together feels right. Visit drstacyfriedman.com to schedule your free call today, and let's take your passion to the next level.
So we're back here talking with Dr. Stephanie, and we're learning about cosplay and power dynamics and things like that. So talking about power dynamics, how does exploring dominant and submission help couples and individuals? Oh, wait, you're muted. What just happened? Let's see.
Sorry about that. I'm
Oh, that's
back.
okay. You're back.
So, well, power is sexy. Now, whenever I say that to people, they'll say one or two things.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, when I feel I'm in power, I feel very sexy. Or they'll say, yeah, when I see someone in power, it turns me on.
True.
So that is where we can play around with it and find out where it lies in one's sexuality.
Well, you hear it a lot, just even confidence. And when you see someone that's very confident, you look at that as someone that maybe has more strength and maybe
Right.
more power, you know.
Exactly.
So I think that I agree with that the power.
Well, and it's also very common that someone in a position of power,
Mhm.
I noticed that in the dungeon, like a CEO like of a company would come in to be domed because they wanted to let go of the power.
Let go of it. Yeah. Yeah. And I see that because I used to be in the medical field. I did an ultrasound for 26 years. And I remember a lot of the doctors, the radiologists, they always walked in with their chests out. And when you would try to talk to them as a little ultrasound tech, you would have that power dynamic and you would see that they were always trying to put themselves above you. But then when I got to befriend one of them and I realized that they were just a pussycat, and they actually wanted their partner, because I knew both he and his wife, wanted the wife to be more controlling over him at home. So it was that thing where he's like, I'm so in power all the time at work, at the office, doing medical stuff, saving lives. When I come home, I want someone to dominate me. And I see that very often, especially in like medical field or even like police officers are always in that.
Sure.
high.
Right.
Yeah.
And helping those individuals to realize that sometimes letting go of that power is a very healing thing. Yeah.
Right.
Or people who are more submissive, embracing that power,
Yeah. Because there's a lot of people that always want to be in control. And it's nice to have that vulnerability of just letting loose and letting someone take the reins sometimes. So do you have any?
Well, which takes us back to always needing to, quote, finish. That's a form of control. That tells me that individual must always be in control.
That's a good point.
They're not capable of letting go.
Right. And just letting their body experience things. There always has to be a result, a focus. Are there any misconceptions that people have about power play? Is it just because they feel like they have to be in control, that if they do power play, that they're going to lose their masculinity or their control in that way?
Well, yeah, they have to. I've heard things like that, or that they're not safe.
Right.
But they have to realize they have to pick who they're playing with.
Yeah.
And know that safety is there.
Right.
So I think if the situation is right and the boundaries are set properly, there's no reason to not have fun with it.
Absolutely. Totally. Sex is meant to be fun. Period.
Yes.
Period.
Please.
And sex is not just intercourse. That's just that misconception. But so for people that are curious about it and want to potentially try to get into the power play or cosplay or anything like that, what are some steps that they could take to even bring it up to their partner that they want to role play? Because some people have been doing the same thing for so many years. How all of a sudden do they just say, okay, this is what I want to try, other than just saying it?
Yeah. Well, by finding some podcast or some books on it and just presenting it like, oh my God, look what I found.
Yeah.
Listen to this and tell me what your thoughts are about it.
Right.
Presenting it that way and see what their thoughts are.
Right.
And then tell your thoughts. Well, actually, I think it might be kind of fun to play with. Most people would be kind of open if their partner kind of did it in like a sweet, sexy way.
Right. And I think a lot of people that are nervous are afraid to sometimes say things like, oh, this was my idea. This is what I'm telling you. So your idea of saying, oh, I heard it on a podcast or I read it somewhere will make it like something else sparked it, because some people get a little hesitant to share their own fantasies or their own desires.
Right. Which, again, is what's great about cosplay, because in those safe spaces, it gives us permission to share those fantasies that we don't always feel comfortable sharing as who we are.
Right. Exactly. And so some of the things that you have said is that you've said that nothing that harms no one is wrong.
Right.
And so why do you think so many people are so afraid to share fantasies? If it's a fantasy, doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it, but being able to talk about it, why are so many people afraid to do it when it's not going to be harmful?
Well, because most people take their partner's sexual fantasies personal. Okay. And you cannot do that. Your partner's sexual fantasies is about them, not about you.
Right.
And you're absolutely right. Most sexual fantasies are better off remaining a fantasy. So
yeah, I think I got the dog here. He's putting his face on my chest. So yeah, no, I believe that fantasies, and that's why I said not all fantasies need to be played out, but being able to share fantasies, sometimes you could say and talk to the person, what is it about this fantasy that you like? How can
Right.
we tweak it
Mm-hmm.
to make it where it is realistic that we're able to do something different type of role play? I know when people talk about, let's say, threesomes, and they don't
Mm-hmm.
want to bring a threesome, but they want to know what it would be like to see their, let's say, their wife sucking on another man or something like that. I said,
Mm-hmm.
bring in a suction dildo, bring in
Mm-hmm.
another toy that is phallic and looks like it.
Mm-hmm.
Try to find out from your partner how to explore those fantasies if you're not wanting to do them in real life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like even I tell my clients that want to have sex in public, okay, play with it. Go out in public and say, you know what? I'd really love to suck your cock right now.
Uh-huh.
And I'd love for those people over there to watch.
Uh-huh.
I'd really love for you to just to give it to me right now while they're watching. Play with it like that.
Yeah, and obviously you're not going to do that because you'll get arrested.
Right.
But
Exactly.
but it's the fantasy play and the fantasy talk.
And that builds up for when you do get to a safe place.
Exactly. And I think that I just want to talk a little bit about the dirty talk since we're talking about sucking cock and doing it right here and there.
Yeah.
A lot of people do struggle with being able to speak to their partner like that, or being a so-called different persona.
Sure.
So do you feel that they need to be dressed in a certain way to really be able to explore all that? Or can they do something that can help them be able to do what you just said and just go out there and regular, you know what I mean? Or do you think that the cosplay, the dressing actually does help?
Yes, cosplay definitely helps with that. But also, I think exposing yourself to that type of play on a regular basis. So I
Practice
always
makes
have my
perfect.
clients listen to erotica every day for a few minutes. Watch a porn every day for a few minutes. Something that will get your mind stimulated every day
Right.
so that you show up almost kind of ready. Because if we're just having sexual experiences once or twice a week, that muscle hasn't been exercised.
Right. Right. It's
So you
not
gotta
something
every day think those naughty thoughts. Yeah, every day read something to turn you on, even if you don't have sex. So when you show up, you're ready.
Yeah, no, I think that the fantasy, the erotica, all that stuff, when I speak to clients that either don't masturbate or don't fantasize, I always tell them, like, well, what are you thinking about through the day? When do you think about sex? They're like, well, I don't. I said, but if you
Mhm.
read, if you explore, sometimes I even tell them to have like a little texting game with their partner. Start a pretend sentence and let him follow up or her follow up with
Mhm.
it, and go back and forth and make your own fantasy just from going back and forth. Where if you're uncomfortable speaking the words, which so many
Mhm.
people are, text it first and
Mhm.
practice being flirty, being playful, you know?
Yeah, and for people who enjoy writing, write a short, sexy story,
Yeah. And
and
maybe
then
do
share it with your partner.
it.
Mhm.
Exactly. Exactly. And so speaking of writing, you have your book called Beyond the Costume, correct?
Mhm.
So give us a little idea of how, you have both the healing aspect of it and the playful aspect of it, of the cosplay. I want to hear about the book.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a young boy. He's 6 years old, who has an alcoholic, abusive father, and he doesn't even realize it. But he uses cosplay to escape. He's really into film noir from the 40s. He
Okay.
dresses in that era. He watches those old films. His father bullies him over it. And because of these films, he wants to grow up and be a detective, like in the movies. He gets bullied a lot at school. And so he grows into young adulthood and he has a lot of shame. He has a difficult time meeting people because of the shame of who he is. So then he meets a quirky therapist named Dr. Stephanie.
Hmm.
And in the book, we do the sessions. Again, I include a lot of the homework and the questions asked for the reader. And he finds his true self, his authentic self. And he realizes that he needs to embrace it and own it and celebrate it. And through this, he meets a woman, and he's instantly attracted to her, vice versa. Invites her out on a first date to an old movie theater place, and they each dress the part, but she doesn't know he's a cosplayer. And he's torn. Do I tell her on the first date? Do I not? And so he finally decides, no, I'm going to own who I am. I'm going to celebrate, and I'm going to be truthful. And so they're having coffee, and he tells her, and she's like, oh, I've never known a cosplayer before. I mean, not that I've known of. And he was very kind, and he says, you have my number. I want you to think about it, and just know I would love to see you again, but I want you to feel comfortable. And he gives her a sweet kiss. Well, she takes her time. She takes a good month researching cosplay and also taking a look at herself. And she finally decides, you know what? If I want a man to show up authentic to me, then why am I worried about what other people might think?
Right.
And so, of course, she reaches back out to them. It's a beautiful love story. They fall in love. They both grow in so many different ways together. He gets accepted to the police academy, his dream that he always was afraid of. And it's just a beautiful love story. And it all comes from just simply embracing and celebrating who you are. It's not necessarily, it's not about the cosplay. It's about, or the sexuality. It's about celebrating yourself.
Authenticity.
It's a beautiful love story.
Yeah. So I could see how people, like you said, it's not all about the whole idea of cosplay, but where you could have the playfulness and the healing, because when people get to that place where they could just be like, this is me, this is who I am, why be afraid? You're going to wind up finding something beautiful. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like that's kind of the message, is no matter what it is to just be you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know? And she just fell in love with his complete uniqueness too.
Yeah.
And in fact, when she would take him to her parties of her work, she got where she just celebrated it. So yeah, this is my guy. This is my 1940s film noir guy.
Right. So are they, like, when you're talking about cosplay, and you know, we're distinguishing between furries and this and that and all these different things. Is it more of like a time of life? Like you said, the 40s or the 50s, is it more of that kind of thing? Just being a different person from a different time of life?
It's anything that the person wants to own.
Okay.
I always say, is there a particular era, particular film genre, character, anything. It could be a future character in your mind that you make up. It can be sci-fi. It could be anything.
And do people stay within their costumes, I guess you could say, through their lives, or is it more just for the bedroom?
It depends. It totally is the individual.
Yeah.
Both options are available.
So whatever works for them.
Whatever works for you. That makes you feel safe and comfortable.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're going to take one more commercial break, and we're going to have some more questions for Dr. Stephanie. We'll be right back.
Great.
Looking to spice things up in the bedroom? Dr. Stacy's got you covered. From luxurious lotions to silky lubes and tantalizing toys, our collection has everything you need to turn up the heat and reignite that spark. Whether you're flying solo or with a partner, our products are designed to enhance intimacy and pleasure. Use the coupon code PURPLE and get 20% off your entire order. Visit drstacyfriedman.com, click the shop link, and explore our full range of goodies that are sure to bring out the fun in the bedroom. Let's make every moment more exciting. Dr. Stacy's Tantric Toys, where pleasure meets purpose.
Okay, and we're back, and we're not muted this time.
Okay, yeah, I was careful to check.
No, all good. So that was one of your books. Now, did you say, from last time I talked to you, I think I remember you saying that you were working on something else as well?
Yes, I have a book that's going to be released by the end of the year on actually losing oneself in love addiction.
Oh.
And the main character, same thing. She grows up with a loving grandmother that she's close to. That's a quote, witch, a spiritual healer. And she owns that and owns that in herself. She moves away to college, kind of loses that connection of that part of herself, meets some beautiful, handsome, popular guy who ridicules that aspect of herself. So she loses that self for him. And through this process, it's a painful process in her addiction of him and his attention, his love. Till ultimately she finally discovers, no, she's more valuable. She just, it's a truly beautiful story of finding the love for oneself over the love of pretending to be someone else for somebody else.
I think that's definitely an important message, because if we can't love ourselves, we're not going to be able to love someone else fully. I truly believe
No,
that.
and if we play a role and just pretend to be what the other person wants, the qualities, ultimately we're going to be very empty inside.
Yeah, absolutely. Because eventually it'll come out, especially if you start getting into a longer term relationship. Eventually the true you, there's only so much that you can keep up with the facade.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk a little bit about the role play outfits, because we were just talking about the cosplay before. Give us some examples that some outfits that have maybe gotten some second glances, some kind of exciting outfits, because I want to be able to picture some ideas of some outfits that people might be using.
Oh, again, that is all depending upon what turns them on. I had a client that could not even have any type of sexual encounter unless she was dressed like a little girl from the 1800s. So there's all, and she liked, of course, the partners to be daddies from that era. So what, again, it's your fantasies, whatever. Like even at the dungeon, I would play out scenes where it was the Salem witch trials. I was the witch. I had to play this scene with him so many times. He was the preacher, so to speak, that burned me at the stake.
Oh.
So I had to pretend to be burned and just scream and holler. And he just loved that power dynamics. And afterwards, I'd be like, this is so interesting. Because for some reason, that was his thing. It wasn't even sexual for him. So maybe, was it a past life thing? I don't know. But he would come in all the time for that play.
Well, I was going to say, could it be a past life thing? Could it have been a past trauma that had been resolved?
Yes, that is very common too.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a client who had lost his leg, a young, late 20s guy, and he wore a prosthetic leg, And whoever he always played with had to be a warrior goddess. And at the end of the scene, she would cut his leg off with a pretend, he had like a plastic sword.
Right.
And I played it too. And you cut it and he would throw his leg off and he would suffer and and I always figured in his mind, that was the way he healed from losing his leg.
Right.
He envisioned a beautiful goddess taking it, and that's how he came to terms with it. And I always thought, good for him. Good for him.
Yeah, to be able to
he would play with all different types of women at all different ages. So he needed that feminine power to help with that loss that he had. Yeah.
Powerful. Can be very powerful. So it sounds like that even with the trauma, people can still experience that power, that playfulness, that healing through all of this. Because I know that what I've heard from so many people that don't know enough about it is, oh, these people only do these things because of trauma. But I think that there's so much more to it. And just talking with you is helping people hear the possibilities, the healing, the pleasure that people can get from it.
Well, the brain wants to turn pain into pleasure.
Yeah.
And when you fight against that, you fight against your own healing. End of story.
Makes sense.
And if you find a safe space to explore that, I always grant permission to people.
Yeah.
As long as no one's getting physically or emotionally hurt, if they're playing a role and they're playing out a scene, if that's bringing them healing, who is anyone to judge that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As long, like you said, what was the word you said, that harms no one is
physical or emotional or mental abuse, as long as there's none of that at play.
Right. Right. And so for a final takeaway, if someone's listening right now and says, this is not for me, or, maybe I am curious about it, what is a takeaway you want them to know about the power of play and the importance of play, or being able to explore this that could potentially be helpful for them?
First of all, it's okay if it's not for you. It's totally okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if it is something you're curious about, remember that when you were younger, the passion and the power and the healing that play brought you, no matter what was going on in your world,
right,
you were still able to play.
Bringing the kid out.
Yes.
Bringing the kid out in you.
You can still get to that place within you, that no matter what's happening out in the world or in your life, I can play right now. And then try to discover what that looks like for you. Try different things. Explore different things. It's okay if something's not for you.
Right.
That's okay too. It's okay, but it's okay to try.
Right.
Be
a trisexual. Try anything sexual. Even if it's
anything.
not sexual, just try
it. That's right. Play is sexy and fun.
Yeah.
And like you said, curiosity.
Yeah.
And I feel mystery is also sexy.
Oh, yeah.
So explore those things and have some fun.
I love that. Love that. So
and again, it's okay if it's not for you. It's okay.
Right.
And it's okay if you try it and it's not for you. That's okay too.
Yeah. As long as you're open-minded to just saying, okay, if this is, let me try it. And if it's not, then at least you tried it. No big deal.
And have fun. Just have fun with it. Even if you end up giggling, fine, you giggle.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Well, in my book, I say, if you're not laughing during sex, you're doing it wrong.
I love it.
Having fun. And so
yes, I love it.
Basically what it's all about. So, so let people know how they can find you. So that way, if they are interested in your other
that's okay.
They can find a place to go get it. I'm going to put up your website here. So let everybody know how they can reach you.
It's StephanieHunterJones.com. And that's StephanieHunterJones.com. Everything's there. My books, my link to my inspirational videos on Instagram, everything, all that good stuff.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's been so awesome learning so much about this, because it's something that I wasn't as familiar with. So I'm really glad that you helped inspire me as well. And I appreciate you bringing your voice, your wisdom, and the playfulness to today's conversation. I know a lot of people listening are going to feel inspired to let themselves play a little bit more inside and outside the bedroom. And so I appreciate you being here and helping that conversation start in maybe some other people's bedrooms.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for your listeners for listening to my truth.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So that is it for this episode of the Purple Passion Project, where we keep it real with just the right amount of spice. And if something stirred in you today, just let it. And if you loved what you heard, make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms, on my YouTube as well at Dr. Stacy Friedman. And if you're ready to go deeper, follow me all over social media at Dr. Stacy Friedman for resources, tips, a place to find adult products, or just for personal coaching support. Until next time, stay curious, stay turned on, and never apologize for wanting more. See you next time.
This has been the Purple Passion Project with host Dr. Stacy Friedman. Tune in each week as Dr. Stacy breaks down walls, busting myths, and gives you permission to want more with no shame, no filters, and definitely no small talk. Check in every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, on your favorite streaming platforms. We look forward to seeing you next time. Be sure to visit drstacyfriedman.com to learn more.